Mike O'Donnell. We are about 17 hours removed from UCF men's basketball knocking off number 3 Kansas in their Big 12 home opener. The question everybody wants to know is what happened to the shoe. But I want to rewind a second for in case anybody has been living under a rock and doesn't know what that reference means. Tell me about the shoe situation and then, yes, what happened to it.
So the court storm happens, and it's bedlam, total chaos, as it should be. When you beat Kansas, when you beat the number 3 team in the country, that is worthy of a completely chaotic situation on the court. And we let it breathe, and in kind of the broadcasting world, letting it breathe means both announcers just stop talking, you shut up, and you let the moment really speak for itself. And so we were letting it breathe and taking it all in, and it was just this epic, really cool scene on the court, and all of a sudden we're getting ready to go down into little X's and O's of what happened in that last 2 minutes, and then a shoe comes flying over to the broadcast table. I didn't catch it cleanly, unfortunately, because I would have felt really good about that. One bounced, and then I caught it. And it was a black shoe. It looked to be like a very expensive athletic shoe. And I was completely flabbergasted as to why that happened. I don't know whose it was. I don't know how it got there. It was just right place at the right time for the shoe, I guess, because I'm really just here for the meteoric rise of the shoe's popularity on SportsCenter and the Scott Van Pelt show, because I'm basically the shoe's agent right now. But that's what happened. The shoe is way more important than me, no question about it.
Yeah, I know your wife, so I texted her when I said I'm interviewing Mike in about 30 minutes, and I said, give me the inside scoop. What was he like when he got home? And she goes, I was half asleep, but my first question was, where is the shoe? Do you have it?
Yeah. Annie thinks, my wife thinks that shoe is going to be worth at least $5,000 to $6,000 on eBay. So we're more looking at it from a mortgage standpoint. Can we get ahead on our mortgage a little bit by potentially selling this piece of incredible UCF memorabilia?
Yes.
Yeah, she was absolutely half asleep, and that was 100% her first question. She could care less how I did in the game. Yeah.
Okay, but to our knowledge right now, the shoe is MIA.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't quite know where the shoe is yet. I'd love to get a hold of the shoe. I looked at the table again before I left, didn't see it. I don't remember specifically handing it to someone, and I don't remember anybody specifically taking it. And the shoe looked to be intact, fairly clean, well kept. I mean, clearly that was a shoe that was a fairly new origin. It looked like it had been worn down.
Perhaps a holiday present.
Perhaps a holiday Christmas present. Yes, indeed. There's certainly it didn't feel right as if it had been worn down. It didn't have a smell to where I said I needed to get rid of this. So could have been fairly new. Yeah. Love to find it though. Would be great to find that shoe.
Literally just in hot off the presses text message as of 1:49 p.m. from Ken Landis, the SID. I have the shoe.
No way.
I swear.
Are you kidding me? Are we breaking news right now? I need the shoe.
All right.
I need the shoe more than the shoe needs me. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, maybe we can take a photo with it after the thing. That's incredible. Okay.
We'll ask the shoe first.
Anyway,
willing to take
so
a
enough
photo.
enough with the shoe.
Yeah.
Let's get to the game. For you, being on the call last night, this might be hard to pin down, but what would you say was the top moment from the game last night?
Wow, that's a terrific question. Can I give you two?
Sure, I'll allow it.
One is micro and one is macro. The micro, as well as Jalen Sellers played and Darius Johnson made some huge shots. Thought Shamari Allen made some phenomenal defensive plays. Ibrahima Diallo was really the MVP of the game for me. Number one, he stayed out of foul trouble against potential National Player of the Year and Hunter Dickinson. He was coming into that game shooting 51% from the free throw line. He went 5 of 6 from the free throw line, and every shot looked pure. but he made 2 buckets in the second half where he was guarded by Hunter Dickinson, and they were highly contested, and they were trying to get him in foul trouble and trying to bait Hunter Dickinson into getting into foul trouble. And there was one shot in particular where he caught it on the right baseline. He faced up Hunter Dickinson. Diallo is 7 foot. Dickinson is 7'2", and while they're facing up, it was as if Dickinson said, "You can take this shot. I know you can't make it." And Diallo squares up and drills it from about 14 feet away. And the moment specifically that was really the turn of the game is when I had a perfect vantage point of when Hunter Dickinson was running down the court. He was shaking his head in disbelief. He could not believe that Diallo made that shot because scouting report says he's not a mid-range shooter. And it was just, it was the game for Diallo, who deserves an enormous amount of credit for that game, had multiple blocks. But that moment of exasperation from Hunter Dickinson, I think really told a lot of the story from the win last night. But the macro of it was the foresight of Coach Johnny Dawkins of using depth and length to his advantage defensively, of switching back and forth between that zone defense and man-to-man defense. The backcourt for Kansas couldn't figure it out. They could not figure out how to get Dickinson involved in the action when they were in the zone, and it completely stopped the rhythm of the half-court offense of the Kansas Jayhawks. And the macro for that was the story of the game of Coach Dawkins saying, we're going to go back and forth between zone and man and completely throw them off kilter, and it worked.
What was your impression from the game last night? And it's not just the game itself, but like the atmosphere, the just the moment, you know, the result and the moment. What was your impression walking away from that game?
There was a little smirk on my face because it was absolutely a welcome to the Big 12 moment. And it wasn't necessarily just about the win. It was more about the atmosphere. That home atmosphere is what Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, TCU, Houston, it's what they expect to receive every single game in Big 12 play. And that's what UCF is going to get every single time they go on the road in Big 12 play. Every game in the Big 12 is so physical, and it's so good, and it's so intense. They all feel like Sweet 16 games, every single one. And last night felt like a Sweet 16 game. And that's, for like the UCF fan base, that's the kind of heaviness to every Big 12 conference game that you should expect, home or away. That's just, to get to that point of where UCF started, it is difficult to describe. It's certainly a meteoric rise, but now you're in it. And there's no going up from there. There's zero. You are at the best basketball conference in the country. How can you not smile a little bit about that?
So I'm going to get to some Big 12 stuff in a second, but before we kind of expand on what you just said, you know, I know it's important to any media professional to be impartial, and I know you really pride yourself on that when you're on the call. But you're also human, so you're going to have somebody who is so connected to the program in the ways that you are as a former student athlete, as a former staff member. You're going to have feelings and thoughts and emotions. And so what I'm wondering is, after you take off the headset, as you're walking out of the arena last night, what were some of those thoughts or feelings that you had? And are you able to unplug at that point?
Now, that is I feel like I'm being interviewed by my psychologist here. Yeah, that's an incredible, it's a difficult question to answer in terms of detailing it, but it's not a difficult question to answer because the integrity of the broadcast comes first. That's number one. I would happily challenge anybody to say, if you listen to that broadcast, that if you knew that I had played at UCF, I think it would be difficult. Being unbiased has to happen. It's not even a conversation. It just has to happen. And so you prepare accordingly. Now, I know stories about the players at UCF because I'm around the program so much. So inherently and subconsciously, I have more stories in my head that you can tell at the right time, but you never force it in because then you're disrupting the actual story of the game. The more I focus on the story of the game of what is actually happening, I think the less unbiased any broadcaster would actually be. If you're prepared and you watch film, that's fine. But when the game ended and, the fans are still on the court and, broadcast is over, I'd be lying to you if I didn't said that if I didn't feel good about this moment for where the program was 30 years ago to where the program is and now, I wouldn't be a human being. I think it would be inappropriate for me to just be a robot after the end of the game, not move, not shake hands with people, say hi to people, tell stories with people after the game. That would be crazy to me. So there was certainly a moment, and I think some of those best moments after the game is I really silence my cell phone during the game. I try to stay locked in the best you can. After the game, my phone blew up, and the overwhelming majority of the text messages were not just from buddies or friends of the program or outside the program or general friends. I had 87 missed text messages from the UCF alumni basketball group text that I was in because all the guys were just going nuts. Everybody was going crazy. And some of the guys were doing play-by-play in the middle of the game, and asking me questions in the middle of the game. I said, I can't answer this question in the middle of the game. I'm calling the game. But there was this sense of, really without being too cliche, of just pure happiness for the program. It wasn't like, it wasn't just completely wild, or it wasn't, everybody's reminiscing about the old days. There was just this complete and pure happiness for the actual basketball program that, there was a great humility to it. I thought it was really special.
That's cool. Okay, so to talk now about Big 12, that game kicked off. UCF is in the middle of a now 4-game stretch in which they have to play top 25 opponents. To your point of the Big 12 conference is the top in college basketball. We are very much in the thick of it right now. So the next game is BYU at home on Saturday, and so hopefully a similar crowd will show up for that one. But what do you think this win will mean as the team looks ahead, not only to these 4 games, but to the rest of the Big 12 slate this season?
I think there's no relaxation that you can have. It's one of the things that makes it extremely difficult is you kind of have to be on edge, even in days off. Because if you're not even watching film, just as a player, not with a coaching staff, but if you're not watching film on your day off after a huge win, knowing that BYU is next up on the slate at home, they're a top 25 team. They're the best three-point shooting team in the country and arguably the best passing team in the country. You'll take a step backwards right away if you don't stay locked in. There's certainly that small window of time where you should enjoy it a little bit, but you have to keep it. You have to be disciplined enough to keep it a small window of time because the relaxation that comes along with that is virtually non-existent in Big 12 play. There are 7 teams inside of the top 40 of the net from the Big 12, conference. And there's a really good chance that 8, maybe 9 teams in the Big 12 will play in the NCAA tournaments. It's every single game. So the quick turnaround thing, that's the exhausting thing mentally. It's physically, can you get yourself up physically, get yourself physically ready to play against a top 25 team? Yes. It's mentally those 48 hours before the next game, coming off a huge monumental culture-defining win of how you find that middle ground of enjoying it without relaxing. It's not easy to do, but I think the good thing is you got Coach Dawkins, who has played at the highest level, coached at the highest level, has played some of the biggest games ever in the history of the NCAA tournament, coached in some of the biggest games. So I'm not really worried about top down how you get your team ready for that.
From your perspective, like we said, as a former player and as somebody who's been in the program in a few different ways, and now watching it, you've been doing your role now as a broadcaster for several years. How have you seen the program evolve?
Oh, well, how have I seen the program evolve? We had nothing. My senior year, we didn't have a locker room. It was.
What did you do?
Well, it was so in the my senior year was the first year the arena opened, the Addition Financial Arena. It was just called UCF Arena at the time, and we didn't have a locker room, so we used this room, and that a lot of times, like the different like musical acts that come in, like concerts that come in, will just kind of use for like their roadie crew.
Like a multi-purpose room, kind of.
A multi-purpose room, yeah. And we put a couple chairs in there, and we didn't have even name tags on our locker rooms. It was like what you would think high school football was like. You put a piece of not paper, but tape, like players tape, like ankle tape, and then you write your name on like this little makeshift locker. But we honestly, we didn't care.
Yeah, right.
We really didn't. And we weren't playing for locker rooms. We were playing for the fans. That era of that Atlantic Sun transferring into Conference USA, it was a big jump at the time for the program. But we just could care less. Here's what I think about. This is a great example. We if you go back and you listen to, old guys like me in different programs talking about how, we laid the foundation for everything, we never really talked about that. We always knew this place could be really, really special. What we always cared about was playing as hard as we possibly could to get people into the stands, to show people that this could be a basketball school. Mm-hmm. We really cared about having people in the stands. It didn't affect, like when the game was going on, we didn't think about it, but there were these moments in the old arena, which is now the venue, where I remember it specifically. Me, Jermaine Taylor, Dave Noel, Chip Cartwright, Josh Peppers. Before we ran out, there was this little pavilion hallway, and there's these two double doors that they were so old they didn't even lock. And we used to, right before we run out, we used to open up like 1 inch of the door and see how many people were in there, about 30 minutes before tip. And sometimes it was a really great crowd, and we were like, okay, we got to put on a great show. We got to go crazy. We would turn around, and we'd be like, me and Josh Peppers were like, okay, we got to be locked in here. And then there was just always some type of psychology with us. If we opened the door and there weren't that many people in the stands, we said, okay, we got to put on a good show. We have to put on an even better show and go crazy and play as hard as we can, because we need people to talk about this.
Right. Almost like a come see what you're missing.
Yeah. So whether there was a lot of people, we had to put on a good show, or whether there weren't that many people, we were like, we have to put on an even better show. And everything for us, for that group, was all blue collar. Like, if we had to play so hard, and we knew that the fan base would react to that, because we always felt the UCF basketball fan base was a blue collar fan base. And we did things like passing flyers out to all the tower dorm rooms. We did that for years. And at first it was a little bit, almost felt embarrassing. Hey, everybody, hi, I'm not bothering you, but here's a pamphlet to come watch us play basketball. Would you please come and watch me play tomorrow night? We did that. We did that because we really, really wanted it to make it special. We wanted it to be cool. We knew it could be good. We knew it could be big. We just didn't have any clue on how big it could be. And then you fast forward, handing out flyers, peeking through the door and seeing, are we going to get 3,000 people here tonight, to the largest crowd in the history of UCF. And, your highlights are playing on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. What's next, in your opinion, for UCF?
What's next is BYU. that is, I laugh at that, but that really is the game, right? And that's the game in Big 12, is when you can go from an enormous win to then 48 hours later, you play another top 25 team, whether it's at home or on the road. The consistency of showing up and providing that maximum effort and the ability to turn around quickly and show the community and show the fans, this is like, you belong. That's the next step, is the consistency of turning around quickly, because every single game is like that in the Big 12. That's what it is. You're going against teams that have been doing it for decades and decades. And Kansas has won 18 of the last 21 Big 12 championships. And here's the difference of who you're playing against. So when most teams break a huddle, when you have the whole team and you break the huddle, it's, you put your hands in 1, 2, 3 team, 1, 2, 3 family, 1, 2, 3 culture, or win. When Kansas breaks the huddle every time, they say 1, 2, 3 Big 12 champs. That's how much winning the Big 12 means to Kansas, who's done it 18 times in the last 21 years. They're not tired of it. They care about it deeply. So the next step is the consistency of understanding this is a Sweet 16 game every single time you lace it up in the Big 12. You better get ready.
Is there any question that I didn't ask you, or anything that you would want to say before we wrapped up?
I think what last night showed, what a lot of people will say, is what Addition Financial Arena can be and what the UCF basketball program can be. But there's a little really exciting opportunity in front of the Nightmare student section in the UCF basketball fan base, of where I think they got a taste of the big time feel for the Big 12. And as they start to learn opposing team coaches and players and cultures and fan bases, you're gonna find out that it's not just this team coming in who's really good. There's an almost intense intelligence about how you cheer for your team in the Big 12 in every game. And I think the UCF basketball fan base is really, really close to understanding that. And when they get that, it's going to become one of the most intense home atmospheres in the Big 12. And if you can say you're one of the most intense home atmospheres in the Big 12, you can say you're one of the most intense home atmospheres in the country. And that's where I think, if we were to define potential of what it could be, that's the real meat and potatoes of the potential.
Okay. I love that answer, because I think even I heard in Coach Self's press conference, oh, here it is.
No way. Are you serious?
It was just chilling there, man.
Is it real? I mean, this is a $200 shoe.
Yeah.
What's,
size 10.
what size?
Size 10.
I'm an 11. I'm an 11.
I guess you're going to have to go on the bookshelf.
I'm an 11. Wow. Look at that.
That's for you. Hang on to that
Look at that. Wow.
Now you can pay your mortgage.
You know what? The tagline for UCF should be no shirt, no shoes, no problem in the Big 12.
There you go. I think I'm done then. You good?
Wow, that was great. Except now I have to get a picture with the shoe.
Absolutely. That's going to be the thumbnail for the video, I would have to imagine, right?
Yeah.